your host of the long-running agriculture feature called The Farm Gate. I bring the latest news and information on where agriculture is and where it's going to WHOW Ag listeners several times a day. From tariffs to treaties, from the Board of Trade to the running board on your truck, I cover Central Illinois agriculture every day on The Farm Gate. Hear it all on WHOW's many platforms on the radio or online. Join me, Stu Ellis, for The Farm Gate.
You're finding Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Len Kasper, the voice of the Chicago White Sox. Len, a good morning, sir. How are you today?
Doing great. Coming off quite a night last night here in Houston. Wow, what a game.
3-2, White Sox win it. Beyond that, Len, H-Town has to be hopping, right? You've got the Final Four there in town this weekend. You've got the Texans have the number 2 overall pick. Obviously, that's not going to bring people in, but I'm sure that creates a little bit of a buzz. And obviously, the defending world champs open up their season. So I'm sure Houston's buzzing this weekend.
It is. It's pretty crazy here downtown. You're right. The Final Four kicking off, and a lot of people already in town for the big games tomorrow. And then, we expect the ballpark to be pretty much packed all weekend. It was a sellout last night. The Astros will get their World Series rings before the game tonight. And it's been pretty busy.
Interesting stuff. Well, Len, Sox have to come back to beat the defending world champs 3-2. Tell us how it happened.
Well, it was quite a game. The White Sox had a lot of chances. They had 11 hits in the game. Only one came with a runner in scoring position. That happened to be Andrew Vaughn's big double in the ninth. But Dylan Cease, I thought, looked as good as we've seen him. The stuff was just outstanding. He retired 19 in a row at one point, but the White Sox just couldn't push across a run, and the Astros grabbed the lead late on a wild pitch. But then Grandal came back, tied it with the home run in the eighth, and Vaughn won it with the home run in the ninth. The Astros, you knew, wouldn't go away. Yordan Alvarez hit a mammoth home run to make it a one-run game, but the Sox were able to hang on. So I thought it was a pretty exciting opening day, and typically you kind of overreact to what happens on opening day because you've spent 6 weeks of spring training kind of building up to opening day. And I guess in the big picture, it doesn't feel like whether you win or lose really matters that much. But I'll tell you what, that was a game the White Sox really, really were happy to win against the defending champs, a team that's been kind of their nemesis here the last couple of years. So now that you've won one, you look at the next 3 days and you hope you can get at least one more, if not two, to win the series.
Len, a couple of names you mentioned there in that summary of last night's ball game. First of all, Dylan Cease, obviously runner-up for the Cy Young last year, and it sounds like he looks as good as he did for last year. I feel like if he can really anchor the top of that rotation for the Sox, it really, having a guy like that at the top of the rotation really remedies a lot of things. I'm a big Mets fan, so having a guy like Jacob deGrom at the top of the rotation for many years really remedied, you get on a 3-game slide and then Jacob deGrom takes the hill and you feel really good about it. You're on a 4-game slide and Dylan Cease is on the mound and you feel really good about that day. It really remedies those long losing streaks that teams can kind of find themselves in. That's got to, if Cease can be that guy for the Sox, that is a huge asset this season.
Yeah, they call guys like that the stopper, and the idea is when he pitches and you're on a losing streak, that streak comes to an end. I totally agree with your analysis, and I thought his stuff was as good as it's ever been. And recency bias is a thing, but I'll tell you what, that might have been the best performance I've ever seen from him, considering the lineup he faced. Opening day with all the nerves, he was brilliant. He didn't walk anybody. He got behind a couple of guys, but by and large, he was 0-2, 1-2 on just about every Houston hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And the slider was just absolutely devastating. So that was a really good debut here in 23 for a guy who I think a lot of people are wondering, can he make that next step? Or is there some sort of regression to the mean from last year? That was as good as it gets last night.
Andrew Vaughn is a guy, Len, that I came into this season thinking was going to have a huge year. I've been a fan of his since he was at Cal. There was a home run hit he had, and I can't remember if he was at Cal or first year in the minors with the Sox, but he missiled a line drive over the left center field fence. I mean, the ball probably didn't get more than 15 feet off the ground, and he cleared the left center field fence. It had to be college now that I think about it. But I've just been a huge fan of this guy. He struggled a little bit. Late last year, you started to see signs that he was putting it together, and I just think he is in for a monster year. I really do.
Yeah, he hits the ball really hard, as you said. He hits a lot of line drives, and I think the idea is now that he's back at his natural position, first base, that he'll be even more comfortable all around. And you hate to lose Jose Abreu, who signed with the Astros, but I think they really wanted to get Vaughn back to his natural position. He did everything they asked by playing the corner outfield spots, but he's just not a natural outfielder. And he looks a lot more comfortable over there at first. And you're right. I mean, he hit third in the lineup last night. And I think that's kind of that area where he'll be, most of his career now moving forward. I guess righties, I think Andrew Benintendi's probably going to hit third a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly against lefties, you'll have Vaughn there. And, he's a guy you want as high in the lineup, not only to get on, but to drive in runs. And I think there's a little more home run power in that bat as well. As you said, he hit 17 to lead the team last year, but I think 20 to 25 is certainly well within his capability.
maybe I'm a little like pie in the sky with it because I trade like. I'm sure you hate this comment, but I traded for him in my fantasy baseball league thinking he was going to have a huge year. I think 30 to 35 is realistic with his body type and how strong he is, but I think 20 to 25 is totally fair as well. Yasmani Grandal goes deep last night. Again, Len Kasper, voice of the Sox, on the phone with us this morning. Yasmani Grandal goes deep last night. He had just a miserable time in 2022. Injuries, just couldn't hit, all sorts of problems for the catcher for the Sox last year, Len. It feels like if the Sox are going to do well, maybe he's hitting in that 6 or 7 spot in the lineup. If he can produce and have a good season, the White Sox lineup is going to be that much deeper and that much more potent.
There's no question, and that home run was enormous. He had grounded out 3 times earlier in the game. Thought he had a really good game behind the plate, even though he let the wild pitch get away from him, and that was not an easy play, which is why it was a wild pitch and not a passed ball. But that home run was exactly what the White Sox needed. And I agree with you. I think Grandal, Moncada, the 2 switch hitters, the 2 guys who probably see the most pitches in this lineup, they need to be on-base machines. They need to not only hit for power, but take their walks and kind of keep the line moving. And I think this is a big bounce-back year for Yaz for sure. And the other thing, too, I would add is I really like Sebi Zavala as the backup catcher. He had a big spring, and I think he's a guy they feel very comfortable playing quite often. And what will happen is if Grandal is offensively doing what he normally does in a good year, I think you'll see him play maybe a little first base and maybe even DH, and you might see both catchers in the lineup on occasion.
I want to talk about the addition of Andrew Benintendi. You referenced him hitting third in the lineup. I've liked him for a long time as well, Len. He's one that it feels like he really hasn't tapped into what he is capable of at the plate. How about what he's done in the spring? How do you feel about Benny Baseball there in the Sox lineup this year?
Yeah, he's just a real solid player. He's like that guy that you love to have, that you never have to really talk to. You just pencil his name in the lineup, generally in that same spot, and let him play. He's a natural left fielder. won a Gold Glove there, and yeah, he does everything right. He's quiet. I'm just gonna, you talk about leadership and all that stuff. I think baseball, it's more about example setting, and Benintendi's the kind of guy that you just love to have because he's not going to complain. He's just going to go do his job. And he had a nice opposite field base hit. They didn't shift. There are no official shifts anymore, but they gave him a big hole on the left side of the infield, and he guided one into left. So he's just a really smart hitter. I think he'll take what pitchers give him. And again, there might be a little more power in his bat. He played half his games in Kansas City, which is not the easiest ballpark in which to hit a home run. I think with half his games in Chicago, he's got a chance to maybe be that, I would say modestly 10 to 15 home runs. I don't think you're ever going to really expect him to get upwards of 20. But just get on base, hit for a high average, and be healthy and play every day. And that's the goal here for Benintendi.
100%. And Oscar Colas, Len, let's wrap up our first segment with this. Oscar Colas, the highly touted prospect the Sox have, he makes the opening day roster, gets his first hit last night, and he really had a great spring. There were a lot of guys across baseball that really just kind of worked their way into the lineups. Maybe they weren't, penciled in for that lineup role or that everyday lineup spot coming into the spring, but they played their way into that spot. Jordan Walker in St. Louis is another guy like that. So how about Oscar Colas and the spring he had, and now he gets a chance with the big league club this year?
Yeah, he earned it. He's a really exciting prospect type guy, and he was so excited to be here when he was told he made the club. He's got family members here in Houston this weekend, and he walloped a comebacker about 109 miles an hour into center in his first career at bat off the bench. So the bat is really, really interesting. I think he's a work in progress defensively, still kind of learning how to read balls and getting good jumps, but he's an aggressive player, and you'd rather have that than anything else. So I think if he does make mistakes, so to speak, defensively, there'll be mistakes of aggression. And I think as a manager and as a staff, you can live with that because he's coachable, right? And to keep that bat in the lineup, he's going to have to play the outfield because Eloy Jimenez is going to be the DH most days. And I don't think they feel uncomfortable at all about starting Colas in right. And I would guess he'll be out there in the starting lineup tonight against the right-hander.
I know I said we'd wrap up with Colas. You mentioned Robert and you mentioned Jimenez. Let's wrap up this segment officially, Len, with those two guys. To me, they got to stay healthy, and if they're healthy, they are as good as they come. How about those two?
Absolutely. I think both offensively can be MVP caliber guys. Robert is a dynamic two-way player. I thought last year at times maybe wasn't quite as good defensively as he had been in the past. Wasn't healthy, for the entire year, so that might have played into it just a little bit. I know he had some vision problems in the middle of the season, but when he's at his best, he's one of the best center fielders in the game. And Eloy, now you mentioned Vaughn 30 to 35. Eloy's my guy in terms of the home run power. I think if he can make 140 starts, I think 35 to 40 home runs is very much within his reach. And when he's at his best, he's the best hitter on this team. I don't know how much outfield he'll play. He has made the transition from left to right because of Benintendi joining the club. But I would expect him to make the most starts on the team at DH and then maybe one or two starts a week in right.
Len Kasper is the voice of the Chicago White Sox. You can hear White Sox baseball all season long right here on WHOW. Len, let's take a time out here. Come back with some more. It is the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now. The Chicago Board of Trade on Friday report day. Corn starting steady, beans steady, and wheat also beginning the day steady. May corn 6.50 up a penny. July corn up a penny. 6.28 1/4. September corn starting this Friday 5.76 down 1/4. May beans 14.75 up half a penny. July beans 14.45 down 1.5. August beans up 1/4. 14.01. May Chicago wheat 6.93 up 3/4. July wheat 7.04 3/4 up 1/4. September wheat 7.16 down 3/4. May bean meal 4.55.50, that's down 4.40. May bean oil 54.95 up 58 cents. Opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday report day. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
If you think a new or used car is in your future, the time is now to call the Baum Chevrolet Buick sales team here in Clinton or Farmer City. This is Scott Baum. With a professional sales consultant in your corner, the vehicle search is easy. Meet with our sales team to go over your wants and needs. We'll start the search and do all the legwork for you. With so many models and options to choose from, we can help you get the information you need. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Here's owner Dave Jackson from your Clinton Save-A-Lot on how inflation is affecting all of us.
Raw materials are hauled from overseas on a ship powered by diesel fuel or whatever they use, and then it gets to the port, then it's on a truck, then it's on a train, then it's hauled to the manufacturer, then it's hauled from the manufacturer to my warehouse, then it's hauled from my warehouse to me. Fuel is used so many times on these products, and this has a exponential, huge impact on the price of goods.
Despite that, Dave still provides you selection and savings every day at your Clinton Save-A-Lot.
Hope to see you soon.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Len Kasper is the voice of the Chicago White Sox and joins us on the phone here this morning. Len, how about the pitching staff? We talked about Cease. Brilliant start opening day against the defending champion Astros. The Sox go out and get Mike Clevenger. Lance Lynn comes back. Those are two guys that Lynn particularly, you hope he can give you 200 innings, and if he keeps the ERA south of, say, 4.5, you're pretty pleased with that. How about the pitching staff?
Yeah, it's a good starting staff in terms of experience. Tonight it'll be Lance Lynn. Tomorrow, Lucas Giolito. You mentioned Clevenger. He'll pitch on Sunday. And then your five starters, Michael Kopech, who had a really good year last year in his first full season as a starting pitcher. So that's pretty formidable. Obviously, you need everybody to stay healthy. They do have a little depth in terms of Davis Martin as their sixth starter right now. He's a AAA, but will always be at the ready, and I would anticipate he would come up and at some point, make a few starts, particularly if you have a makeup doubleheader or that sort of thing. And then the bullpen, the stuff out there is so good. Liam Hendricks is coming back from cancer treatments. We don't have kind of the specifics in terms of when he might be back, but Rick Hahn, the general manager the other day, gave a good update on his progress, and he did not get placed on the 60-day injured list, which means potentially the White Sox feel that he could be ready to come back before the start of June. So that's great news. But in his absence, Pedro Grifol is going to kind of go with bullpen by committee, and he'll use leverage situations. Everybody's available kind of whenever the game gets tight. And last night it was Reynaldo Lopez who ended up notching the save. He hit triple digits throughout the ninth inning with his fastball and gave up the home run to Alvarez, but was able to close them out for his first career save. Kendall Graveman's sinker in the eighth was absolutely devastating. He hit 98 with a lot of movement. Aaron Bummer coming back, I think him being healthy this year will be huge for this team. And eventually Garrett Crochet will be back from Tommy John surgery, maybe by early to mid-May. That's a pretty stocked bullpen right there. And, I haven't even covered all the guys available but it's a pretty formidable group.
Totally forgot about Garrett Crochet. Yeah, fireballer, no doubt. So, Len, talk to me about the new manager. I don't know a lot about him, and so what's his demeanor like? What's he bring to the table? What do you like about him?
Well, I've been so impressed with Pedro Grifol. He's 53. He's a lifer. He was an All-American catcher at Florida State. His roommate was Eduardo Perez, who is now on ESPN, does the Sunday night games. In fact, was here in Houston last night for Pedro's debut, which was really cool. They're best of friends. He played for the Twins in the minor leagues, never did get to the big leagues as a player. And then he kind of did a little bit of everything. He was in the Mariners organization and then the Royals. He's been a minor league instructor, a minor league manager, a big league coach. He's been a farm director. He's done just a little bit of everything. And this is his time to shine. He's incredibly organized. He's got a quiet intensity about him. He knows all the new school stuff, all the old school stuff. To me, he's very well-rounded in that regard. One of his baseball mentors is George Brett, the Hall of Famer. In fact, Pedro wears number 5 in honor of Brett. They got to know each other very well in Kansas City. And he ran a great spring training, and I thought last night, pushed all the right buttons. He's got a good staff around him, and I just was really impressed with how crisply the White Sox ran spring training this year. It's just a really good story, and a guy you feel great about. Spending a lifetime thinking I really want to be a big league manager, and his time has come. And he's to borrow the cliche, he's really grabbed the bull by the horns.
Very good. Well, Len, in our final minute together, next couple of weeks before you and I catch up again, or you and JD and us catch up again, what would be a good couple of weeks to start the season for the Sox? What would be a good outlook for them when we chat next?
Well, this is not an easy start, with the 4 here in Houston. The Giants will be the opponent on opening day at home, and road trip to Pittsburgh and Minnesota. Just remember this, with the balanced schedule now, 13 games against each of the division opponents. So, White Sox Twins will be 13 instead of 19. Cubs Cardinals will only be 13 instead of 19. Dodgers Giants the same. Yankees Red Sox. So you're going to see every team in baseball at some point. And I think what happens in that regard is those intra-division games become even more important because you don't see your rivals quite as much. So, I just think for just about any team, not just the White Sox, Seth, but I think for the White Sox, be 500-ish, if not a little better here these first couple of weeks, and then get on a roll, and hopefully that'll carry you into May.
There you go. Len Kasper, voice of the Sox, here Sox baseball all season long on WHOW. Len, thank you, sir. We join Network News on the WHOW Morning Show.
1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM, W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.
President and current